Coming up, Disney CEO Bob Chapek comments on the Mary Poppins attraction we were supposed to get in EPCOT we haven't heard about in quite some time. Disney announces a new DVC building coming to Disney's Polynesian Village Resort, despite it looking very much like a new housing complex you'd find in the continental United States. Exciting progress continues at Tron, where vehicle testing is to begin ramping up, and the EPCOT Experience has closed. All that and more on the way. This is Mickey Views News.
All who come to this happy place, welcome.
Now I'm the king of the swingers.
That's what EPCOT is, an experimental prototype community that will always be in a state of becoming.
First up in the news today, last week during Disney's annual shareholders meeting during the Q&A segment, a fan asked CEO Bob Chapek something we've been wondering for a long time. What's up with all of these paused projects Disney hasn't spoken about now in years? Here's what Bob Chapek had to say.
Obviously, we had to take a pause in our development of some of our capital-intensive projects, given the cash flow implications of the pandemic. Certainly, the Poppins project, which I was very excited about, has had to be put on hold for a while, as has the Quinjet. But those are projects that we've got sort of in a holding pattern right now. And as our cash situation becomes a bit more robust and a little bit back to normal in terms of our liquidity, we look forward to hopefully refunding those projects in the future.
So quite a lot of us in there, if you noticed. It's really good someone asked Chapek that question, because our understanding for years has been these aren't going to happen. These projects aren't going to happen. That's still quite likely the case in my opinion. But here, Chapek describes Mary Poppins and the Quinjet e-ticket attraction we were supposed to get for DCA as projects in a holding pattern. I'm just not convinced we're actually going to end up getting these things, because following this reminder from a fan about the EPCOT overhaul, about Mary Poppins in particular, which Chapek made a huge deal about, if you remember back at the 2019 D23 Expo. Following this, the very next day, something very odd happened. The Imagineer in charge of the EPCOT project, Zach Ridley, posted that the EPCOT Experience, the exhibit Disney opened in EPCOT October 1st, 2019, to great fanfare. This is the beginning of a whole new EPCOT. We're gonna do all this stuff. He announced that that'll be permanently closing March 14th. I was able to hop in one last time and grab some footage of the show this weekend. Now it is closed. The Odyssey building is back in its closed state we've seen for many, many years. It was nice that it was open for a while here. Now they've covered up the EPCOT Experience signs. Chances are this was planned before that annual shareholders meeting, but it is quite interesting timing as a fan brings up the topic of these shelved projects to Chapek. Chapek says, cash flow, holding pattern, and then a week later, the EPCOT Experience teasing all of these new projects that we were supposed to get that now seem to be shelved, at least a lot of them. Now it's done, now it's closed. So I fired off on Twitter saying, man, this just shows how they've given up on the original scope of the overhaul. Disney doesn't like EPCOT, they don't care about EPCOT. So this looks like the end for the EPCOT Experience, which is sad because it was a nice place to beat the heat. And however you may feel about the content of the show, what the future of the park actually is, that intro with Walt was damn cool. It was really awesome. It was a fun place to check out, and I just really don't know what Disney's doing with EPCOT. It seems like EPCOT always gets the shaft, which is quite sad. We can't even get this update that Disney wanted to do just a few years ago. Now it seems like it's all up in the air, and Chapek makes it like, oh, it's all still going to happen, but the fact that they're closing the EPCOT Experience doesn't exactly inspire confidence. So next up, hopping out of EPCOT over to the Magic Kingdom, we have some cool news to touch on real quick with Tron here. Minutes after I posted an update the other day, Disney posted a video showing that they're working on the Tron light cycles themselves, the ride vehicles, which are to begin vehicle testing with the launches into the outside portion within view of the guests quite soon, it sounds like, which is very, very exciting. So we'll be able to catch the light cycles going around outside. First it'll be, with weights on them, and eventually it'll be with actual people on those vehicles. And when they first start testing them, they might be a little slow. They're gonna work up the speed, it sounds like, for the launch part, because you have the launch. Of course, this is a launch coaster. And the bigger news here with Tron to me is if you take a look at the footage I was showing you guys the other day, where I was confused about that trash bag looking material up on the canopy, which looked really bad. Now, as you can see in in these updated photos, it no longer looks like that. Now it looks great. It looks just like those sections of plastic you have out in Shanghai now. It looks like it's all coming together quite nicely. So the deal here is, I kept talking about acrylic panels. There are no acrylic panels. The story here is with the canopy is we know that it uses this ETFE plastic sheeting. Disney recently posted a video about it where it has this cool pattern in it when the light shines through it. But more interesting is it's two pieces of sheeting inflated with air. So while they were putting that sheeting up, it wasn't fully inflated, hence why it looked very bad when I was filming it that day. Now it has been inflated fully, or close to fully, I think, because now it looks quite good. So let me know what you guys think about that. Work is continuing getting that sheeting up, and it looks like we are not far from that canopy covering being done. They still have a lot of work to go, but it is coming together quite quickly here, so that is quite exciting. It's going to be awesome. Last up in the news today, the big news of the day. We're saving the best for last here. Well, it's not really the best, but anyways, Disney has announced there is a new Disney Vacation Club villa building coming to Disney's Polynesian Village Resort, opening late 2024. That is the target opening. That is all we have heard about this. The location and stuff is being speculated about online right now. All we know is this building is coming to somewhere at the Polynesian. It's probably going over where the dinner show used to be or something like that. We're not sure just yet. Now you might be looking at this and saying, wait a minute, Disney's Polynesian? Where are the longhouses? Where's the orange and yellow accent paint? I'll tell you where it is. It's in the past, because the folks who did stuff like that are leaving or have already left the company. And many of the folks making decisions now on projects like this who comprise New Disney haven't been with the company for more than 5 years, are not parks fans, come from places like the Vegas hotel business. So non-Disney people, non-Disney results. Here you go. Really not a whole lot to say about this art, besides it really should not go at the Polynesian. It looks nothing like the Polynesian, but you know what? It doesn't matter at this point. Disney's gonna do whatever they're going to do. The theming is getting so light outside of the parks. Have you guys noticed this? And even inside of them, with things like the show buildings on the latest attractions, it's like, we get it. Disney doesn't care. I'm not necessarily saying this is the case, but it's almost as if, you guys remember Reflections, a Disney Lakeside Lodge, that DVC property we were supposed to get over by the Wilderness Lodge, Disney announced a long time ago and they cleared the land for, and there were crews on site for. It's almost as if Disney started working on building out that site, found a sinkhole over by the former river country, canned that project, nobody was the wiser and assumed, oh, it's on pause, like all the other projects because of the events of 2020. When in reality, DVCs are a guaranteed moneymaker for Disney, that's why they build so many of them. Disney definitely could have counted on that project and still is, but now they can't put it there, so they've moved it over to another site where they can put a DVC with very similar aesthetics and said, this is a Polynesian building now. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but it's certainly what it seems like. So guys, that's the news today. It's getting hard to cover some of this stuff lately because it can come across, negative, as people say, oh, you're being negative. I've always wanted the news we cover here to be an escape from all the other news out there. Everything's negative, everything's very critical these days, but at the same time, I'm not filtering my content like people do where they're so worried about the group consensus, what everyone else is going to think. I'm not going to be positive for the sake of being positive. I just look at each thing and grade it on a rubric comprised of all the stuff we love about the parks that's been done in the past. And with every passing day, every minute, every hour, it seems like the company is continuing to shift towards whatever the hell this is. And it's not good. It doesn't feel Disney. We have some one-offs that hold promise that are coming quite soon, like Guardians and Tron, but even with those, like I said about the buildings, it is what it is, I guess. Obviously, most guests don't care. The parks are making the most money they ever have in history right now, or at least lately. And if you go to the parks right now, it is busy, busy, busy. I guess I'm just some eccentric speaking into the void. Disney's not going to change how they're going to do things without extreme financial pressure to do so. So, most people, I know most people aren't like me, most people aren't like us. I know there's other people watching this that feel quite similarly to me, but it's just not a constituency that is enough to really matter. So if you're good with Disney going towards these nondescript things where we have very normal looking rooms and buildings and mall looking stores and everything inside Disney looks not dissimilar from what you'd find outside of Disney, with the exception of a few Disney characters sprinkled in here and there, that's exactly what you're getting. So if you like that, enjoy it. But as someone who's always been more enamored with the exceptional aspects of this place, which many don't notice or appreciate, this isn't one of them. This isn't exceptional. And to an extent, it's the result of some of the people who lead these projects not caring the same as folks who used to occupy their positions did. And to a greater extent, it's the result of the leadership, of course, where their focus is not the parks, the money they put towards these things, not as much towards the parks as they think they should. And ultimately, it's the result of whoever is behind the curtain leading the leaders. I mean, seriously, does anyone really think Bob Chapek is where the buck stops? Come on. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe with those notifications on. I'll be back with you here soon with a long-awaited update on the Brightline intercity passenger rail system, which sometime this decade will become capable of transporting you from the Orlando International Airport to Walt Disney World in speed and style for an affordable price. I hope you're all doing well. From the Mickey D's Magic Studio, this is Brayden. I'll talk to you soon. Have a magical day.